absolutely crazy about it!
Devil May Cry in high definition. Devil May Cry HD Collection.
And so it begins. The HD Collection. Devil May Cry 2. First one was good, but what it lacked was not only a strong story, but also better mechanics. Thankfully, style of the game, artistic avenue of the game, the character's behavior, the whole cool factor of the game kept it alive. The fact that you could use guns, shotguns, so on and so forth, made it even extremely interesting, and one of the reasons why it's so popular. Basically took the logic of past genres and mixed them all up together into one badass character. Basically, Dante is like several heroes mixed into one. Characters going all the way from Resident Evil all the way to Doom characters, all the way to um, first Demon Souls characters, and even before Demon Souls came out, characters that go all the way back to Duke Nukem times. So he's like a fusion of all sorts of badass characters throughout the ages, like way back in the days, like Wolfenstein. He's a combination of many type of heroes, but I think he's more grounded in the reality of characters of myth and legends rather than video game characters of myth and legends, such as heroic guys that slay dragons, or heroic guys that slay demons and witches, um, demon slayers, and that type of stuff, which were part of mythology way before games and comic books came into existence. So he's more of a character based on the myth of an ideal that exists way before the age of technology. Like every time I look at Dante, I see a character that reminds me of an ancient past. Like he's basically a character that was designed in an ancient times from people who sat around campfires and told the story of certain individuals that hunt down certain creatures of the night when nobody else would do so. So he's like a mythical character from ancient past brought into modern era, and he's fused with other characters from comic books and video games in order to give him a more modernized lore. But this guy is, if you really think about who he is, he's more ancient than a lot of stuff. He might even be more ancient than the author's myth, if you think about it. If you go all the way back and you think about people talking about Arthur's myth around campfires or on the battlefield and stuff, he might go more ancient than that, because if you're talking about people who slay demons and monsters and werewolves, that stuff goes way beyond that of Arthur. Um, like dragons. Yeah, like dragons was really a thing of Middle Ages, but things that before them were all connected towards demons and monsters. So he's really a mythical character brought into modern age. Like that's why I never really pay attention to people who like disrespect the character Dante. Like you don't understand. Dante is not like the Doomslayer, or not like a character from Diablo, or it's not like a character from Resident Evil, or not like a character from Half-Life or from Star Quest, and not like a character from Elden Ring or any of the Soul franchise. This guy, if you really think about it, is more ancient than all of those characters. Of course, those characters are all linked to a certain type of distant myth in Celtic history, or Indonesian, or Swedish, or Scandinavian history, or Greek and Roman history. All sorts of myth are connected that way. Prince of Persia, so on and so forth. But if you think about who he is, he goes back way further than that of what he does for a living and what he is, what he represents. Goes all the way back to Cain and Abel times, if you think about it. For this, I'll just go Dante. I could go Lucia. Well, back in the days, you had the opportunity to choose between one and the other because it was a story of both Lucia and Dante. That was the difference between Devil May Cry 1 and Devil May Cry 2. You had the ability to choose a path that you never had before. I believe in Devil May Cry 2, the reason why there were two paths, I believe during this period, Resident Evil 2 had already came out, and you could have chose between Leon and Claire. And after that was widely successful, they made Devil May Cry 2, and you could choose a path between Dante and Lucia. So yeah, I believe it was during this period the ability to choose between who you want to play with in the game became famous or fashionable. I believe it was the late 90s, early 2000s when the decision to start choosing between characters what became a thing. Like way back in the 80s, you always had like one character or one group of players that you could play with. But before, in the past, 80s or early 90s, there was no choose this other person's path to start the story with. You usually had one character's path, and then along the way, you get to play as someone else. Or like in Dino Crisis, you at the beginning you play as a dude in Dino Crisis rather than the girl. I think it's Reina or Rena. I forgot her name. Starts with an R. But you played him in Dino Crisis 2 because it was his story at the beginning, and eventually you get to play as her along the way. That's not the same thing as selecting between two characters. So that stuff didn't exist in the early 90s and 80s. That stuff was only became a thing in the late 90s and early 2000s. So I'm gonna go with. I want to see what happened with Dante after Devil May Cry 1. And if I don't like it, I'll restart it and then play as Lucia. By the way, I love the artwork for Dante and Devil May Cry 2, but in Devil May Cry 1, they really made him look really badass.
In a time long since past, in an age of darkness, when the earth was overrun with demons, humans were powerless under their rule. Humanity's hope lived in a demon named Sparda. With a spirit unlike any other, and wielding the sword that bore his own name, Sparda eradicated the demons. And now, the legend of Sparda has been inherited by his son, a demon slayer, Dante.
You called?
Till next time, son of Sparda.
Oh yeah, or almost forgot that whole jumping scene where he jumped all the way from up there and land down here. That's the famous scene that got him recognized moving forward. Of course, the sword, the hairstyle, the combinations, his way of speaking, and of course his outfit and his lore are all defined things that make him who he is and well known throughout the gaming world. But if someone was to ask you which is, a recognized moment in Devil May Cry, that says, well, when someone jumps off of a very high place and lands on the ground, that's a very defined thing. That's specifically that Dante did. So whenever you see any characters in any game moving forward from after whenever this game came out, and it was from an extremely high place, that's a very Devil May Cry moment. So what's the difference between Devil May Cry 1 and 2? Even though the story from Devil May Cry 2 is not as good as the story from Devil May Cry 1, the difference between 2 and 1, I believe, is the movement, the move set, the combinations. Everything just behaves smoother. Case in point, original Devil May Cry, have to hold your guns up and then fire. Hold up, R1, fire. This one, no holding up R1, just firing. The R1 is specifically for aiming in the direction you want to be aiming at, without losing that direction. But then that's not true, because if I'm facing this and I press the button, whatever he's facing, he'll shoot in that direction, as long as I keep doing it. So if I face completely forward, he'll keep doing it whether I move to the left or to the right. So the original R1 is not really that needed, it's just to put him in that state. It feels more easy and traditional, where this one, you don't need to do it anymore. Another improvement from Devil May Cry 1, why a lot of people prefer Devil May Cry 2 over 1, is you no longer have to, when you do the jump, originally you do the jump by pressing X, you no longer have to hold on the X in order to do the roll. They've separated the roll from the jump, whereas originally you had to hold your weapon up and then you have to hold down an X in order to do a roll. Now you can do the roll independent of any button. Just pressing the circle itself does a roll in whatever direction you want. There's no longer holding an additional button. Roll is a roll button, period. That's one of the main difference between Devil May Cry 1 and Devil May Cry 2, why everyone likes the fighting style better than Devil May Cry 1, because all the buttons are now independent from each other. They're not codependent on each other in order to execute an activity or an action. Roll is roll, shooting is shooting, slashing is slashing, and jumping is jumping. There's no longer a codependency of one, you have to hold R1 and then do a button. So the difference between DMC 1 and 2 is obvious from the gate. Circle is roll. Square is shooting if you're on PlayStation controller. Triangle is slash. X is jump. Prior DMC 1, you had to hold up the R1 and then force your hand on the X button in order to do the roll. But that doesn't exist now in this game. Roll is just an independent. So from the get-go, Devil May Cry 2's mechanic is better than Devil May Cry 1. Let's see what else I could do that's different. That's also different. This is the same from Devil May Cry 1. You used to always jump up and you shoot. Now you could jump up and press downward, or mid jump, mid double jump. So regular jump, as long as he's facing forward, he does the shoot. Or double jump, as long as he's not facing the direction he's facing, he can shoot downwards or in the direction he's shooting. Here he's facing forward, here he's facing downwards. Very different from Devil May Cry 1. Very different from Devil May Cry 1. Before, you could only roll once. Here, there's a combo to the roll. In other words, you can not only roll out the way to dodge attack, you could roll out the way to dodge attack multiple times. Very different and very more stylish than the original Devil May Cry. The mechanics of Devil May Cry 2 was far better than the mechanics of Devil May Cry 1. Far better. For instance, there was never a jump kick in Devil May Cry 1. Here, there's a jump kick. You jump up, and if you're not holding on the R1, you do the downward slash. But if you're holding on R1 when you press the jump button, he does a kick. He kicks an enemy in the air, and then he could follow up with a combo. We'll see what else. R1 jump roll button. Nothing. R1 jump forward roll. R1 jump. Unfortunately, you can't do a combo in the air with the roll button. You can only do the upward double jump. As long as he's on the ground, he could do the roll, okay? So up. Another interesting thing that's better than the original Devil May Cry 1. Before, when you hold on the R1 and you press jump, you would just shoot. Here, you hold on the R1, you press jump. It's like it pushes him in the air. Like here, you just jump. It feels like he's being pushed into the air, whereas the original one, you just jump and shoot. Here, it feels like he's more traveling in the air. See here, normal, go up and down, up and down, up and down. Here, feels like slow motion. Also, different in Devil May Cry 1 than Devil May Cry 2 than Devil May Cry 1. That's better in Devil May Cry 2. Is he gets to keep all his moves from the original Devil May Cry 1. So everything about the mechanics in Devil May Cry 2 is superior to that of Devil May Cry 1. So that's the only thing that was really better than Devil May Cry 1. The story in Devil May Cry 2 was never really that good in comparison to 1, but the mechanics were far superior to that of Devil May Cry 1. Far superior. If you just want to play Devil May Cry for mechanics sake, any Devil May Cry for mechanics sake, I would go with Devil May Cry 2 over Devil May Cry 1. And of course, Devil May Cry 3 just blow both 1 and 2 out the water.
Where's Mathieu? Mathieu? Mathieu?
Good grief. They really made a big mess, didn't they? It sure took him a while to find this place. Oh, you have arrived, son of Sparta.
You knew him?
Oh, yes. We are the guardians of this land, Vidumali. Our clan once fought against the demons with Sparta, son of Sparta. We must ask this favor of you. You see, there's a man who's transformed our land into a demon's paradise. His name is Arius. And although he is the president of an international public corporation, he uses the demon power. Please, deal with Arius and his master for us.
Looks like it's your lucky day.
Wonderful! I am very pleased. It leads to a harbor. If you are successful, I will tell you a story about your father, son of Sparta.
What I will say is the map in this one in comparison to the original is worse. So that's the one good thing about the first game. Like the map in this one was always terrible. It's like they did little to no effort in creating the map for this one. So it's like you don't know exactly where you are or where you need to go. You just see a map and it shows you where you are on the map. Like you're in this room, but there's no indication of who you are within the map. So it's, unless I'm missing something, I would say it's not good. Like if I was to go to the options for brightness and stuff, that stuff I could increase or decrease and change it up. But it all depends on the type of monitor I'm carrying. Like if I'm not using the proper monitor, it's pointless. So and that's another thing about the original Devil May Cry 2 that was bad. Like, you couldn't adjust the brightness depending on the type of monitor you were using or screen you were using back in the days. So unless you had something very specific in order to change up your brightness and or change up certain things, like it really would be a pain in the ass. Like tune your screen until you see each color selected carefully. So how you would tune your screen is dependent on something outside of the game itself. So that was another thing that was never good about Devil May Cry 2. Not only the map was terrible, you know, there was no indication to where you are on the map, so it was bad.